All right, you guys, I always swore I would never do IVF. Never say never. So today I really want to share with you guys my entire infertility story and the events leading up to me really needing IVF. I shared my entire infertility story a few years ago when I first started my channel, but I didn't have a lot of you guys on there with me, and so now I really want to just redo it. I have quite a few new subscribers. Thank you so much for you guys that are subscribed and who watch my videos regularly. It really means the world to me that you watch these videos, that they're helpful to you. But I know that I haven't really shared my entire infertility story in a few years, and most of you haven't ever heard of it because I just haven't shared it yet. So I'm gonna go through this whole timeline. It's quite lengthy, so I'm gonna try to kind of shorten it and condense it, but I really want to share with you guys everything that I've been through in terms of infertility. As a lot of you may know by now, this is one of the main reasons why I started my channel, was to share my infertility journey, share what I've been through with IVF, and just encourage you guys in your own infertility journey and your own IVF journey. And hopefully by me sharing my background with you guys will get to know me a little bit better and why I ultimately needed IVF. And for those of you who are brand new here, welcome. I upload one video. It's just been one video a week. Normally I say 1 to 2 videos a week, but it's been consistently one video a week, and I've been uploading every Sunday morning Pacific Standard Time. I live in Washington State, so that gives you an idea of my time zone. But yeah, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. is when I've been uploading a new video, and it has been all about living healthy and IVF because I've been doing both. I am today 30 weeks and 3 days pregnant. Very happy to say all of those words to you guys. And for those of you going through your own journey, hang in there, you got this. Also, Happy New Year. I know I haven't uploaded a new video in, I think it's been a month, just because of the holidays and Christmas, and Josh and I went to California for Christmas, so there was no way I could upload a new video during that period of time. Then I had my baby shower over the weekend, so now I'm getting to finally making new videos for you guys. And so yeah, very happy to start off this video in the new year, all about my infertility story. Very excited to share with you guys my entire story. So I was a competitive gymnast all through my childhood, through my teenage years, and it was fine until I hit about 10 or 11 years old. I started to get kind of higher up in the levels, and my coaches wanted me to train 4 hours a day after school every single day. And that's kind of, I think, what started impacting my body. And as a young kid going through that much training every single day, I didn't have any body fat. And you know, that's fine when you're a kid. Most kids don't have much body fat anyways, but when I hit my teenage years is when it started to affect my development in terms of puberty. So I did not start puberty until I was about 16, and that is the year I quit gymnastics. So I don't think my body had enough body fat to develop and to go through puberty until I quit gymnastics. And I quit gymnastics when I was 16 years old, and all of a sudden I started to get boobs and get hair under my arms, and I was like, wow. I mean, it just happened really fast once I quit gymnastics. And the one thing that really was bothersome for me was my cystic acne. I got a lot of really bad acne on my face when I started to go through puberty after gymnastics. So my mom took me to my pediatrician, and she prescribed me the birth control pill, and the brand she put me on was Yasmin. A lot of you guys have heard that before. There's a lot of like knockoffs, generics from the brand Yasmin, but back then they pretty much only had Yasmin. So that's what I was put on when I was 16 for acne, and I don't know why the question wasn't raised as to if I had my period or not, because I had not had my period yet, had not started my period. Even though I was developing, I was such a late developer. I think my pediatrician just kind of assumed I had my period already since I was almost 17 at the time. And no, I hadn't had my period yet, but she prescribed me the birth control pill for acne. And so at almost 17 years old, I started taking the pill, and the pill is actually what made me get my period, which makes sense because of all the artificial hormones that flood your body. And then those like placebo sugar pills are basically like there's no hormones in those. So it makes your body like withdraw from the hormones and makes you have a period. So we kind of call them pill periods. They're not your true period, but that's what made me bleed and have a fake cycle starting at 17. And that, my friends, at 16 years old, being put on the birth control pill marks the very beginning of my infertility. So this was back in the 90s. I'm now 36 years old, and so it kind of gives you a time frame as to what they didn't know back then. And I don't think they're so quick to prescribe the birth control pill to young people nowadays, especially if it's for other uses, not for birth control per se. Mine was for acne. So I think they're a lot more careful now with it, but I know that a lot of my friends were put on some sort of birth control for irregular periods when they were a teenager, painful periods, acne like myself, and so a lot of us are struggling with infertility in our 30s because of what happened in our teenage years and our early 20s. And you know how college kids are, like they don't really pay attention to their health, you know, busy. And I kind of thought to myself I didn't need the pill anymore. Like my skin was clear, I was having periods. Plus I was dating Josh and I was about to graduate nursing school and I knew the direction that my life was going and I was like, I don't need the pill anymore. So I just let the pack run out and didn't get a new prescription. So like I said, I was 20 years old and about 6 months later, I started getting acne. And I still hadn't gotten a period yet. And you know, the first 6 months of being off the pill, like I think the pills kind of was still in my system because I didn't notice too much yet, but it was about the 6-month mark of not taking any birth control pills that my skin started to flare up. I started to get really bad anxiety. My body even started to change. Like my boobs went away, my hips went away. It was like I didn't know who this person was. I changed. By the time I want to say 9 or 10 months after getting off the pill, my skin was so bad, like very like pustules on my face. My anxiety was through the roof and I couldn't control my stress levels in nursing school. I couldn't focus in school. And in addition to that, I wasn't having any periods either. So I believe I let it go about a year being off the pill and I couldn't take it anymore. I was so embarrassed with my skin. The anxiety was just too much for me and I went to my pediatrician. She put me back on the pill. Of course. I also got put on Accutane as well because I think the pill itself would have cleared up my skin eventually, but my doctor was worried about scarring. So I got put on Accutane and the pill. And lo and behold, my skin cleared up. I got my period back. My anxiety level went down. My stress levels in turn went down and I was back to my normal self. And it was really fast. I want to say within 3 months, I was back to my normal self, feeling good, skin clearing up, got my period. And I was like, dang. And that was my first clue that really like told me something might be wrong with me. So then shortly after that, being 21 years old, graduated from nursing school and I married Josh. So now fast forward quite a few years, I was 29 years old living in El Centro, California, which if you guys don't know where that is, if you know where San Diego is, it's about 2.5 hours drive east. So it's the desert of Southern California. We were living there, but my job was in Palm Springs because we had lived there previously. So I was commuting 2 hours to work. I was working night shift, high stress ICU job. Josh was getting his career started as a prosecutor. So we both were living like high stress lives down in California. That's kind of beside the point, but it sort of has relevance to what I'm going to tell you. I was 29 years old and I was still on the pill, of course. And I was thinking to myself, shoot, like I'm turning 30 very soon and I think we should try for kids. And I was not in the position to have kids yet. Like I mean, working night shift, commuting, Josh getting his career started. On top of that, I really was not happy living in Southern California in the desert. Like it was just way too hot for me. At the time I was diagnosed with melanoma on my ankle. That's a whole nother story. And I had just been diagnosed with something called mycosis fungoides a couple years prior to that, which is a type of T-cell lymphoma of the skin. So I was dealing with those 2 diagnoses, plus working a ton, plus Josh with his work and me genuinely not being happy in life, just living down there. But I still thought I should get off the pill and try for kids. So I went off the pill in 2016 when I was 29 years old and guess what happened? About 6 months later, same thing. Horrible cystic acne, no period, high anxiety, high stress level, which I already was stressed as it was given everything that I just told you guys. But it just put me on a whole different anxiety level to where I was almost having panic attacks. And then I was getting very frustrated with myself because I was like, this is the second time going off the pill and this is what's happening again. Between all of the different things I had going on in my life at the time, I did try to seek out help. I went to an endocrinologist to see if maybe she could guide me in terms of like what I should do about this. Why am I not having periods? Why is my skin flared up? Why do I feel so bad off the pill? They did a whole bunch of blood work on me and couldn't find out. They really didn't know what was wrong. Like all my lab work apparently was normal. They were like, well, nothing's wrong with you. You just have to go back on the pill. And I'm like, no, that's not the answer. So after I went to that endocrinologist, I went to my own doctor. Of course, she just suggested to go back on the pill. I wasn't getting any answers from her. And then I was gonna seek out a fertility clinic clinic down there, but I decided against it because at the time I knew we were going to be moving because Josh and I had so many conversations about how unhappy I was. He was okay, happy down there in California because his whole family was down there, I think, but I was genuinely not happy where we were living. And so I knew we were going to be moving to the Pacific Northwest, and so I was like, oh, F it, I'm just gonna go back on the pill because there's no point in trying to heal myself or try to find answers when I know I'm gonna be moving to another state and getting new doctors. So I went back on the pill and of course Accutane to help with my skin. So this was all in 2016, almost 2017, and then in 2017 we moved to Washington State. Sorry guys, I'm like having a hot flash. This is what happens a lot now. It must be pregnancy hormones, or maybe that I'm like a lot larger now because I freaking sweat and it just comes out of nowhere. So I apologize if you see me like sweating. I'm okay, I swear. All right, so back on the pill, back on Accutane, acne cleared up, got a period back, feeling good, moved to Tacoma, Washington. That's where we live now. We settled in Tacoma, Washington in 2017 and I was 31 years old, and it's the best decision Josh and I have ever made was to move to Washington State. The environment is so much healthier up here. The air is clean, the water is clean, it's green. We get to go outside all the time, even though it's cold and rainy half the year. You can put on a rain jacket and still be out in beautiful nature in the forest, and just is so therapeutic. So Josh and I have built a wonderful life for ourselves here in Washington, and it's just been the best thing for us as a couple in our mental health and physical health. For those of you who have moved across the country or into a different state, know that it takes a couple years to get settled, find a new job, find a place to live, all that good stuff. So it wasn't until about 2019 that I was ready to find answers. I was so motivated to get down to the bottom of this. Why couldn't I get off the birth control pill? Why couldn't I have my own periods? Why did my skin always flare up when I went off the pill? Like, what is wrong with me? So in 2019, I was ready to tackle my fertility problems, but I had no idea who to turn to, what doctors to go to. I was already not getting any answers from an endocrinologist I went to, like I told you guys, in California, and my own doctor. So I heard of a fertility clinic, and it's actually the one that I used for IVF, Seattle Reproductive Medicine. They have a very high success rate for IVF. And so I was like, you know what, let me just get a consult with them, because I was thinking that maybe they could help me find answers on why I am having these fertility problems. Why am I not having periods? I was thinking maybe they could help me find answers. So I had my first consult with them in 2019, and very disappointingly, they were just interested in getting me pregnant. They were not interested in helping me find answers as to what was wrong with me. They were just like, oh, you're dependent on the pill, like your body can't ovulate on its own, can't have cycles on its own, so you need to do IVF. And I was like, okay, well, I always told myself I wouldn't do IVF, and just kind of the running joke, because of course I did IVF. But back then I really wanted to heal myself, or try to heal myself naturally and see what my body can do. And they just, that's not their specialty. Their specialty is just getting me pregnant, and I just wasn't ready to do IVF if I was gonna do it. Also, financially, I was so sad. I just remember having this consult and them telling me how expensive IVF was gonna be, and I was in shock. And I was like, well, even if I wanted to do IVF, I'm not gonna be able to afford it. And I just remember going home with Josh afterwards and just crying my eyes out for hours and just being like, if I don't find answers, if I can't heal myself, then maybe I do have to do IVF, but how am I gonna come up with all this money? But fortunately for me, a few months later, I was able to reconnect with an old college friend in Seattle, and she told me about a naturopath she was going to at the time for her thyroid. And this naturopath just so happens to also specialize in fertility issues, female reproductive hormones, all that good stuff. And so she highly encouraged me to make an appointment with her naturopath, and that's what I did. So back in 2019, I started going to a naturopath in Seattle who specializes in female reproductive issues, fertility issues, hormones, all the things reproductive. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself. I remember having my first appointment with her, and she sat down with me in her office for almost 2 hours. Okay, what doctor sits down with their patient for almost 2 hours? No doctor, okay? No conventional doctor, at least. She sat down with me for a really long time and went through my whole health history, and not just medical, but like my stress levels, what I did for a living, like how I live my life every day, how I sleep. I mean, she went through everything. And then of course we went through my history of being on the pill, off the pill, on the pill, off the pill, Accutane, and she knew exactly what to do for me. I left that first appointment feeling incredibly grateful, incredibly encouraged, and I was just so happy that I was finally getting help. So this was fall of 2019, of course. Now that I'm under the guidance of my naturopath, I went off the pill again. But this time I didn't just go off of it without a plan. We had a plan in place, supplements she prescribed for me, and she called them herbal tinctures, but they're these herbal liquids that I would take first 2 months of my cycle and the last 2 months of my cycle, and they were supporting my body and having a natural cycle. And I was skeptical at first, like how do herbs help your body have a cycle? But when herbs are in a liquid form, they become very powerful, like basically medicinal for the body. And these herbal liquids that I would take every day, there was, like I said, one that I would take the first 2 weeks and a different one I would take the last 2 weeks of the month. And they would help mimic a cycle for my body, or help my body produce the correct hormones to have a cycle. So I was on that. I was on a bunch of different supplements, vitamins, minerals, a bunch of things to help with my skin. And then at the end of 2019 into 2020 is when she suggested I start doing acupuncture. And as a lot of you know by now, I'm a firm believer in acupuncture. I think it makes a big difference, especially if you do it in conjunction with other things you're doing for your body for fertility. Acupuncture can really help fertility. So I started going to my acupuncturist, and she has been such a blessing for me. I started going, I was gonna say the beginning of 2020, and I would go to her every other week. And she also just so happens to specialize in fertility and female hormones. And so she would tap into the energy points every other week to help my body get a cycle, help balance hormones. So I was working with my naturopath, doing all the things with her, and then I was doing acupuncture every other week. My body was responding actually pretty well. My skin, I noticed, was starting to flare a little bit, but that wasn't until month 8 or 9 being off the pill, so that was actually better than before. So I think it was around month 8 or 9 of being off the pill, I got my own period. You guys, we celebrated. Josh and I celebrated my first period ever at 34 years old. I know, sad, but we just celebrated. I called my family, I called my sisters, be like, hey guys, I got a period, my own period. It was just the best day ever. And it wasn't full on period. It was a very light bleed, but I still had cramping, and I was like, this is fantastic. So that gave me a lot of hope. At the same time, I was dealing with a little bit of acne. Actually, it was flaring up quite a bit by then. And so, but I was going to my naturopath and keeping in touch with her. So she was adjusting some of the supplements that I was taking, and that helped with my skin. But I want to say about month 11, so almost a year being off the pill, my skin was really bad again. So bad cystic acne, just that horrible like deep pustules all on the chin line. That was really the only thing bothering me. Other than that, I felt really good. My anxiety level was low. My stress levels were just like normal. I felt good being off the pill. It's just my skin was the problem. But so I had my period about month 8 or 9 being off the pill, and then I had another period on my own, but about 3 months later. So right around the 1 year mark, when my skin was really kind of exploding again, I had another natural period on my own. So at least that was encouraging. Like all the other symptoms that I would have being off the pill were not there. It's just that my skin was feeling bad, and of course I'm embarrassed by it and all this stuff. So what I ended up doing, so now we're fall of 2020 and I'm 34 years old. I actually ended up going on Accutane again, not on the pill though. I went on Accutane, and for those of you who know anything about Accutane, if you're on Accutane as a female, you have to be on 2 forms of birth control for them to prescribe you Accutane. And there was no way in hell I was going back on the pill. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So I actually ended up getting a copper IUD. If you know anything about the copper IUD, it doesn't have any hormones. It just, the copper itself prevents you from getting pregnant, and you cannot get pregnant on Accutane, because if you do, it's really bad. Accutane can cause a lot of birth defects. That was a really good solution for me because I was able to heal my skin with the Accutane, but I was still able to heal my body, getting my regular periods, my own periods, healing my hormone imbalances with my naturopath, and not having the birth control pill or any artificial hormones in me at all. But I was still able to take Accutane. And I don't fully agree with taking Accutane. The only reason why I really needed to be on it was because of how bad my skin was, and my dermatologist was very worried about scarring. I understand like there's a lot of natural things you can do to help heal the skin. I was on all the natural stuff, and it just wasn't clearing me up fast enough. Okay, so for the remainder of 2020, I was on Accutane, doing all the things with my naturopath, doing acupuncture every other week, getting my periods more and more regular. I would say the most regular they got was about every month and a half. I would have a period, and that was such a miracle for me. I didn't know my body could heal itself like that, which the body can heal itself. It really can, as long as you give it the correct treatments for healing. And I just didn't know what the correct treatments were for me. So that brings us into 2021. So I still kept doing all those same things into the first half of 2021, but I still wasn't having regular cycles. They were most of the time every month and a half, but I would still go like 2 months without having one, and I would have one. And they just, like, I think my body would have eventually become regular in its cycles because it was really trying to go that way. And I think it would have gone that way if I had given myself another like year and a half for my body to totally heal itself and have normal cycles. The problem was my age. So I got into 2021 and I was looking at my age. At the time I was 34, almost 35, and like, shoot, my body is healing, but it's not healing fast enough because my age is against me. The other problem too is we found out through the fertility clinic, Josh got worked up, that he also has problems in the fertility realm. So low sperm count, low sperm motility, and low testosterone. So he's also a problem. And so given my situation being almost 35, him having low sperm count, I didn't think it was wise for me to wait any longer. Even though I knew my body was healing, I also knew that Josh was gonna be a problem too with us getting pregnant naturally. And with those things in mind, I just decided to go for IVF. And I had to do a lot of soul searching before actually pulling the trigger on the IVF route because I honestly wasn't really sure if I wanted kids. I mean, I knew I wanted kids, but I was kind of reevaluating my life and being like, is it really necessary for me to go through this and have kids? Like, Josh and I both have a lot of siblings. We have a lot of nieces and nephews. Maybe we'll just be the favorite aunt and uncle. Like, is it really worth the money and the time and the trauma, honestly, of going through IVF? Or, should I just forget about it and just keep going on the journey I was going on? My body was healing, and just be okay with the fact that we probably won't have kids. What I was struggling with was the whole, like, I don't want to regret my life looking back on it. So I didn't want to get to like 45, 50 years old and look back and be like, shoot, I really should have done IVF. Like, I really want kids. Like, I'm sad that I don't have any offspring, and I didn't want any regrets. And that's what ultimately made me decide to just go ahead and do IVF, because even if IVF failed for me, I would still look back and be like, at least I tried. So fall of 2021, I went off Accutane, my skin was clear, got that copper IUD out, and October 31st of 2021 marked the first day of IVF for me. It was my first stim injections, and I vlogged my way through my whole IVF journey, and I do have a playlist of the vlogs that I filmed for you guys. So if you're interested in my IVF vlogs, if you haven't watched them yet and you're interested, you can check those out. They were from a year and a half ago now, so I'm still working on my camera presence. It's a journey, but I just feel like I was a little bit awkward in front of the camera during those vlogs, but that's okay. Just ignore that. I feel like I really was able to capture all the real moments going through IVF, going through the stim and the egg retrieval surgeries. I did do 2 cycles of egg retrieval surgeries and got 3 normal embryos from both cycles. So yeah, you guys know the rest of it. October 31st, 2021 really was not that long ago. It was about a year and a half ago, not even a year and a half ago, and I still can't believe that IVF worked, that my transfer was successful, that I'm 30 weeks pregnant. Oh my gosh, it is mind-boggling. I had my baby shower over the weekend, and the whole time I was pinching myself, just like making sure that it was real, that I was actually having my own baby shower. I was just, I just never thought that I would have kids. I never thought I would get pregnant. Now I'm 36, and I think I was so hopeless for so long, for so many years, that I did not think this was possible. I did not think getting pregnant was possible for my body. I didn't think my body was capable of becoming pregnant. I mean, of course, IVF is what made my body become pregnant, but I also was very fascinated with the journey I was taking with my naturopath. My body was actually healing itself. A lot of times we just think that like we're in a hopeless situation, but you're really never in a hopeless situation. It's just we don't know where to turn, or we don't know what the correct treatments are. We don't know what our core problems are, but there's always solutions to everything. And so if you're in your own infertility journey, if you're looking to do IVF, or you're in your own IVF journey right now in the middle of it, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. The human body is just miraculous, honestly, and it heals itself quite nicely if we give it the means to. I have no words, honestly. I can't believe that I'm pregnant and I'm having a son, and I don't know, I just went through, I'm gonna get emotional. I went through all those years of no answers and thinking I was broken. You know, it was difficult moving to Washington and seeking treatment and not knowing where to turn, but I just kind of followed my heart and did what I thought was right. And it's crazy when you just do what you think is the right thing to do, things work out. And I'm here to encourage you guys. This channel is here to encourage you guys to just keep going. Even though it feels like you're gonna fall off the horse, stay on. It's all worth it in the end. A lot of you have shared your infertility stories with me, your IVF journey with me, through YouTube, through Instagram, and I'm so grateful that you share your journeys with me. The ones that are tragic, I mean, my heart breaks for you guys every time you share something bad or something traumatic you've gone through, or a failed transfer. Honestly, I didn't think my transfer would work at all, and it did, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so blessed that it did. So my heart does break for you guys that still are fighting for your baby, fighting that infertility, but just, like I said, just don't give up. Keep going. All right, so there you have it. That's my whole infertility journey. Tried to condense it as short as I could, but it is, you know, that's over a span of what, 15 years or so, more than that, 20 years. Because when I was 16, now I'm 36, so yeah, 20 years. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Thank you so much for watching my videos. It really means a lot. Like I said, I know time is precious, and the fact that you guys are taking time out of your day, time out of your lives to watch my videos is just very meaningful. So let's start 2023 with a bang. It is gonna be a great year. It's gonna be much better than 2022, I promise. Yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, because it does really help support my channel. I hope this video was enjoyable and it helped you kind of get to know me a little bit better and was encouraging to you. And yeah, I will see you in the next video, and always remember to be kind to yourself.